It's bold, it's fun, it's unique. Yes, I'm talking about Starlight Express, which you can see at Wembley Troubadour Theatre. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you everything that I liked and not liked about this musical. But spoiler alert, there are not that many things not to like about it. So let's dive in. Starlight Express is a brainchild of Andrew Lloyd Webber, and it dates all the way back to the late 70s, early 80s, and it's inspired by Thomas the Tank Engine. When it comes to the storyline, it's very much about trains racing in a boy's dream, and it doesn't get deeper than that. Of course, there are enemies, there are friends, there are love interests, there are parental figures, as in many musicals, so that is basically what this is about. But the beauty of this musical is definitely innovation and taking that idea that seems like it's not gonna work and making it into something spectacular. And when you put this work into the context of Andrew Lloyd Webber's career, which is right after he's written Cats, which is very much an out there idea about cat singing, it kind of like makes sense that in this musical, trains are singing and racing. Another thing about this musical when it comes to the context is that during the late 70s and the 80s, it was really popular to roller skate, and the way that this musical really brought an extra layer of fun and innovation into it is that all of its cast needed to roller skate. And to this date, that is the concept of this musical, and that is definitely what sets it apart, but I will come back to it when I talk about choreography and cast. This is not the musical to go and expect really pivotal changes in you or inspiration or breakthroughs in terms of thinking or understanding the world or just life in general in any particular way. It is just to go there and be entertained by what you see, because this is genuinely an entertaining and fun show. The beauty of it is actually taking it at face value and not thinking about it too much. This production is directed by Luke Shepherd, who has directed And Juliet and In the Heights before, so if you liked any of these musicals, then that is a good indication that you might like this one as well. And a really fun fact that I didn't know about because I wasn't really familiar with this musical is that this musical has found its audience in Germany, where it's been running for 35 years consecutively. And another fun fact is that before Starlight Express closed on West End, it was the 9th longest running show at the time, and it closed in 2002. So this is pretty much the freshest revival of this musical, and it's coming with a very bold vision. This bold vision is definitely rooted in its set design by Tim Hatley, who has designed Life of Pi as well and won a Tony Award for it. Troubadour Theatre allowed this production to really breathe in a sense that maybe some other more traditional theaters wouldn't, because just of the way that they are set up, and this is a well worth reason going to Wembley for. This was pretty much a blank canvas, as they're explaining in the program. It was just a space that they could do anything with, and they really took it on board and made this musical into a very immersive experience for theater goers with racetracks all around the theater. So it really doesn't matter where you sit, you're gonna get this cast members whizzing by you on roller skates and literally racing by you, which is so interesting to watch and also just interesting to observe from the aspect of set design, because it's really unique. Pretty much there is one central piece where a lot of things happen, which is kind of considered the more traditional stage space, but then from there are racetracks that are kind of connecting to that center stage, and in between those racetracks there are places where you can sit. This is really important to note because a lot of people are confused by the seating and wonder where is the best place to sit. I would say there are two sections that are literally next to the center of the stage, and you are the closest to the action that is happening in that part of the stage. And then there is platform A and B, which is where I was sitting, and this is a little bit further removed from the center of the stage, but you get a racetrack in between these two sections and then also on the side, so you can follow the races a little bit more. Then there's a section at the back which gets to see the whole setup but is like very far removed from the center of the stage, and then there are two seating spaces on the side, and I genuinely think that wherever you sit you're gonna get a decent view. I think these seats as well as the platform A and B have a little bit restrictions in terms of when you are allowed to leave the theater, so this is something to bear in mind. The stage is so majestic, genuinely as soon as you enter the theater you are wowed by it, and I have never seen anything like it. The experience of the stage and set design actually starts even earlier when you enter into the theater, because there are these disco balls tables, they greet you, and like really fun spacey music, and you can get the merch, you can get drinks there, and just kind of like chill in this like space that is pretty big. This kind of really nicely introduces you to entering the stage and experiencing this world of Starlight Express from the very beginning, which is something that I really enjoyed. And this element of set design really allowed people to feel like they're part of the show and more immersed into this production. I definitely see this show being nominated for an Olivier for set design because it's totally worth it. But I don't think set design is the only Olivier Award nomination they might get next year. Costume design is another one where they absolutely excelled with this production. Gabriella is the person behind amazing costume design. The costumes are so vibrant and really help bring this story to life in an unseen way. It is also interesting when she's talking about it in the program, how she's never seen Starlight Express before, but she really used references from old production, but also from Marvel Universe and pop shows and gigs to bring this to life in that very iconic way that you would expect to see really big stars. Like I'm thinking Lady Gaga, Beyonce, and also a lot of like superhero looking costumes. The costumes are also really nicely complemented by makeup and hair. It's truly like a universe that you're entering when you're seeing this show. So really these costumes add a lot of playful energy to it. And an important part of the costume design as well as choreography are the roller skates. And yes, all of the cast is on roller skates very much from the very beginning, apart from maybe the boy, as far as I remember, who kind of like is walking around there, but the rest of the cast is just whizzing by on the roller skates and dancing, and all dance routines are done with roller skates on their feet. There are also a couple of additional acrobatic people involved who are on scooters and they're like going around as well. So there are like a few different elements that really add a lot of motion into this production. With roller skates, it was really interesting to read that not all of the cast members actually even knew how to roller skate before they involved the production, and this was not something that basically was said to the cast: if you can't roller skate, you can't audition. But before the production started, all of them were enrolled in a 12-week roller skating boot camp where they were learning the new skills. It's almost you forget that they're using roller skates, how good they are on them. From that perspective, choreography is something that is also incredible in this production, especially because there are so many different racetracks that are going up and down and around and under as well, because like at some points they go behind the stage and I honestly have no idea how they don't hit each other. There are some elevated elements of the racetracks where they need to like really kind of like go up the hill a little bit, and you know, this is some really good stamina involved. So choreography and blocking are definitely something that sets this show apart as well, because it is just using a lot of the stage in a lot of the ways that you haven't seen before, and there's like a lot of thinking involved in this choreography and some skills that are really not that common for musical theater. Despite like, you know, complicated dance routines that you get into musical theater, this is a completely different ball game. And this goes to say well done to the cast, who have been great. I think that they've all taken this new skill and this vibe of the show on board so much and so well that when you see them, you know that they're not trains, but they are very believable, especially in their like different characters. So basically Rusty is a steam engine, then you have hydrogen, diesel, electric train, you have some carriages such as Dinah, which is dining carriage, and this is all really nicely reflected in the way that they're dressed, but also their characters. You know, some of them are a little bit meaner, some of them are really nice, some of them are a little bit clingy. So it's very interesting seeing these things that you would not think of as being alive, having feelings, having thoughts. It just makes sense that they are the way that they are, because everything about this production is so grand and very mesmerizing. I think that the cast is almost there to support the production. Most of the cast members get an equal stage time. Even Rusty and Pearl, who are characters that are arguably leads, they don't get necessarily more airtime than the rest of the cast. So I think it's like really interesting to see that it is a musical where a lot of the cast members, and there's about 40 of them, they are all kind of equally distributed and everyone gets their time to shine, and I really like that about the production. But on the other hand, it kind of makes me feel that maybe I don't have one particular person that I would like to call out and say like, wow, this person was fantastic. I think all of them were really good. As a group, they create this magic on stage that you will remember. And now we get to music, which is probably the part that I feel the most polarized about when it comes to my opinion, because I cannot say that this is my favorite score or favorite musical. Certainly there are some really fun songs such such as Starlight Express, The Light at the End of the Tunnel, and some of the classics that people who love this musical might recognize and love. But generally, it's a very loud, pop, hectic, spacey, gamified type of musical that is just a little bit like overload to all of the senses. And this could be also a bit of a trigger warning. Like if you are not comfortable with that, then probably the show would be really hard for you to sit and watch. There's a lot of like flashy and laser type lights. There's also fire on stage at some point. They're just like these like unexpected elements, and just it's very loud in terms of the volume. I don't know if it's because of the way that the speakers are set up or just the space and like having so many different elements of where people can sit, but it was just like one really loud and a little bit of chaotic musical when it comes to the score. So from that perspective, I feel like that is probably the weakest element of this musical. But again, it is because I don't really have history with this musical. I haven't seen it when I was a kid, and I haven't listened to it before, and I definitely feel like a few songs have been like stuck in my head ever since, but it's not something that I would go and see for the music again. But when it comes to the whole experience of the show, I think it fits even that kind of very loud and crazy music, because it's a dream. It's a boy's dream where things are a little bit chaotic. So I think if you approach it from that perspective, it could really be fun. In terms of the overall experience, it is definitely worth seeing. It's so different to anything that you can see in London right now, with this amazing set design and costumes and just the whole vibe of the immersive theater elements that this production has. I think it's totally worth your money. And worth saying, it's also the tickets are not extremely expensive. I paid my ticket about £35, but I'm sure that you can get it for like about £29 as well. I was sitting in platform B and the view was amazing. Also, it is on until June 2025, so there's like plenty of time to go and see it. There's also a lot of merch which you can buy, and I would 100% recommend for you to buy this program because it has really a lot about the production. I feel like a lot of times programs are literally just the name of the cast members and like production team, but in this program you actually have some words by Andrew Lloyd Webber to welcome you. Then there is a few paragraphs from each of the production members, such as costume and set design and all of that, and that really helps you understand the musical a little bit better, and it helps you understand how they've come about with this production. So I think it's totally like worth splashing. I think it's like £15 for this program, but it's definitely one of the better programs that I bought this year. Starlight Express is one of my favorite shows that I've seen this year, and I've included it in this video where I've talked about the rest of the 32 shows that I have seen this year and shared some suggestions which ones you should go and check out.